all the way from Atlanta in the United States, my good friend Deji Ogeyingbo. Deji, thank you so much for coming through tonight on Game On. Always a pleasure to see you. So first and foremost, let's go through this list. The 4x100 men's team will see Alaba Akintola, Udodi Owunzurike, Favour Ashe, Carlington Anunagba, and Olaoye Folawiyo and Ushori Ishekiri. For the women's 4x100 meters, there's Rosemary Chukwuma, Success Umokoro, Tiana Eyakpomeyan, Favour Ofili, Jennifer Obi Chukwuka, and Tobi Amusan. And in the women's, I beg your pardon, in the mixed 4x400 mixed relays, there's Chidi Okezie, Ifeanyi Ojeli, Samson Nathaniel, Patience Okon George, ageless Patience Okon George, and there's Praise Idamadu and Omolara Ogumakinju. And the 4x100 meters mixed relay team, they have Favour Ashe, Alaba Akintola, Udodi Owunzurike, Rosemary Chukwuma, Favour Ofili, and Success Umokoro. Your thoughts on this list, Deji, before we speak any further?
Today, well, I want to say it's a bit surprising, really, to see the list and the names that are there. This wouldn't give the sort of outlook we had last year because it was an Olympic year. This is a World Championship year, right? And there's just a different feel to things. Also considering the fact that the Federation are having their elections in May. So all of things are being done on the ground. We did not go with a relay team to the World Indoors, for example, in that game, right? So this also doesn't have the gloss and feel of the college athletes who we know most of their schools would not release them. We didn't really have such issues last year because we had the likes of Samuel Ogazi, we had the likes of the team at God Bless from Louisiana State University, all competes last year. So this time around, it's basically 80% professional athletes that have turned pro. Most of them are based abroad, a couple of them from Nigeria, the likes of Samuel Ojem, Emmanuel Ojeli, Samson Nathaniel, Patience Okon George, all who we saw at the MTN Champs Continental in Lagos just about 2 weeks ago. So it's a situation where you get the feeling that it's more experience than youth, but it's now what the experience can deliver at that world level. I'm not going to fret much, primarily because I don't expect the top countries to also come with their A-list stars. Primarily, first of all, because it's China. Second of all, because to get together your top relay will take a bit of time too. So I reckon we should still be able to see qualification in all of this team. The mixed 4x1 is taking place for the first time internationally, right? So it's also one we should keep a keen eye on, looking at the team that's there. So I'll rate it a 6/10 based on just quality alone. But if you look at so many other factors, you perhaps say this is the best they could gather in this time frame.
Okay, so Deji, I need to ask this question. Look, this team is short of the likes of Ezekiel Nathaniel, who has run 44.74 seconds. The likes of Eddie Diong Udo, who has 45.19 seconds on his card as well. Samuel Ogazi, not there as well. There's no Tima, God bless, who ran a personal best time of 7.08 seconds at the 60 meters indoors this year. No Joy Udo Gabriel, who also sped to a lifetime best of 7.11 seconds as well to win the NCAA division. Now, that brings the question, why are these schools refusing to release these top collegiate athletes? And what does this bode for the future? How does this feed into that narrative that the likes of Making of Champions and maybe the Jamaican Athletics Program have continued to promote, saying that the best way to go forward is to ensure that your athletes are based, trained, educated in your country so that you can call on them at will?
So today it takes a different approach really, and track has always been that sport where you can't necessarily differentiate between professional athletes and amateur athletes. The truth is, all these athletes in college are all amateur athletes. They are not professional athletes yet. Well, but that also has a bit of gray area because even you, if you decide to take up your spikes and go and run now, automatically you're a professional athlete. You don't necessarily need to sign a professional contract because not everybody running professionally have got a contract, right? So those are some of the gray areas with track and field, and that's why it's very difficult to give a very decent, a good outlook on what you should expect. Now, competing for your country is entirely very subjective based on whether you are available to compete. Are the college athletes available to compete? Well, it depends on the negotiation the AFN has with your schools and also the availability. What if they are writing exams? What if they've got classes to take and they cannot take them online? Would they jeopardize that to go compete for Nigeria? I mean, that's the excuse they would give. Professionally, of course, we can look at it for the fact that these guys are on scholarship. The schools are paying them to run, right? And they are committed to those schools. So if they are not available that time, well, I mean, Nigeria should be their first call, no doubt about that. But if they're not available, they are not available, right? There's so many variables that come into play, really. What's the time frame they can compete for Nigeria? So it's always ideal that for events like this at the global scale, you go with athletes that have got the availability and have taken this sport or taken this event as a professional sport. It's like going to the FIFA World Cup, for example, and taking part-time plumbers, for example, and part-time footballers. Of course, they can do it, no doubt about that. In fact, they might be quality enough, but would they be available? Would they be fit enough? Would they be top-notch too? So, I mean, it's not exactly the same comparison, but I'm just kind of give you like context of how you track and field. So something Nathaniel Nathan Ezekiel is undoubtedly our best for a quarter miler this year. Same thing with Tima God bless, our best 100-meter runner. She's done an 11.14 just over the weekend into a headwind, I think -1.2 or -1.4. It shows the sort of form she's in at this point in time. But let's also not forget that relays are not necessarily about the fastest of athletes.
True.
And that's actually where I'm much more worried, because you see the likes of Zambia were in training camps in Jamaica, for example,
yes,
their relay squad.
Absolutely.
Botswana, find out these guys are in relay squads too. So it's a situation where you just have to realize that that's much more important for us. And maybe because of the federation having elections, they've not had time to have a camp or not. But one thing is certain, these guys will have less than 1 week to train or be together. That's if they even make it all together in China. They're going to have a relay camp. The elections are coming up next month. The federation is focused on that. You get so many.
Deji, unfortunately, you're just it's just doom and gloom that you are basically just promoting right now. So are you basically saying that we're just going there to make up the numbers, despite the fact that we have what you call an experienced team?
Look, so the relays are just more than passing the baton round, right? Especially with the sprint relays, that's the 4x100. You need proper coaching and proper camping to be able to deliver at the top level. And that's why we see the likes of Japan, China, Brazil, all doing well. But these are guys that individually can't match up to Nigeria in terms of their sprinters, for example, but they do well at the world stage. And it's also the reason why the Americans sometimes will fluff their lines, because even though they've got camping, they still have not mastered out about the pattern, right? You saw them up the lines over at the Olympics last year too. So many variables come into play, but we are still trying to get by individually, and we are still not having training camps. You can only get the outcome. I mean, this is not me saying it's all doom and gloom, because I was at the World Relays last year in Bahamas, and of us, 5 of our 6 teams that went, 5 of them qualified for the Olympics. So one qualified automatically from the first day. The other had to go into a repechage and to qualify for the Olympics, and which they did, right? Did any of them come out with a medal?
Nope.
Absolutely not. You could see progression from the Botswana, for example, where with the likes of Tebogo, Bayabondori, all of these guys in the 4x4, taking that same momentum into the world, into the Olympics in Paris, and eventually coming out with the medal, almost a gold medal, came out with the silver. And the Americans that went with a very solid team and a good squad, broke up the squad for individual stars, and they couldn't pass around the baton, right? So, like I said, it's not just one variable. There's so many variables in that regard when it comes to the relays.
Okay. Well, we've been speaking to Deji Ogeyingbo, who is country manager for Making of Champions, joining us all the way from Atlanta to speak about Nigeria's, with the release of the names for the Nigeria's relay squads at the upcoming World Relays in Guangzhou, China. Deji, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. And hopefully when the tournament itself starts, you can help us break down how or why we did well or didn't do well when it comes around. Thank you so much, Deji.
It's a pleasure today. Thank you for having me.